Hey guys, this is Manshark Sub LPs. I'm Sub, this is Crusader Kings II, and this is Millennia in the Making Episode 4. So, we're playing as Duke Otto of Saxony still. He hasn't died in his sleep or anything like that. We got ourselves a new wife last episode, and we're looking to expand. Well, we're not looking to expand our power base. What we're actually looking to do is consolidate. As if you remember, we currently own only the county of Lundberg here, which is it's a nice place. Don't get me wrong about it. It's a very nice location in the north of Europe, but it's all we own. We have our vassals in Hamburg, Bremen, Celle, Oldenburg, Osnabrück, Munster, Göttingen, and Braunschweig, but we'd like to personally own a few more counties. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the terrain mode because it's a lot prettier. If we zoom right in, you can see even the trees is slightly three-dimensional. Now last episode we locked up our rebellious brother, Count Bruno here, because, well, he was part of a plot against us, which is still going on. Duke Fankoff of Thuringia is still attempting to fabricate a claim on the Duchy of Saxony, which is our duchy. Now, that plot power was 56%. That has dropped to 32% because our brother has been removed from the backers list. He is no longer kickstarting this particular plot. That's pretty much because he's in prison. And here he is, Count Bruno is in prison with Michtild, who was a member of his court. Now, she only really has a negative opinion of us because we're keeping her imprisoned. She isn't important. She won't ransom for anything because her liege, Count Bruno, he doesn't care. We could execute her, no one will care because she's insignificant, but it will cost us a bit of piety, which is kind of an issue for us right now. So we're just going to release her because there is no real point to keeping her locked up. And yep, see, now she actually likes us. She has a +20 opinion modifier because we are merciful. Let's just check to see if that's flowed through to anybody else. No, it doesn't appear to have done so. We'll just check with our wife. No. Sometimes if you release somebody from prison, let's just start the game time up to keep it ticking over while we talk. If you release somebody from prison and they're kind of important, you can get a relationship bonus with your vassals for being a merciful liege lord. Anyway, as the count ticks, good news in this pop-up. Our wife is pregnant. Hopefully she won't die like the last one did. That's a little morose, but, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, our Chancellor is currently in Braunschweig to improve diplomatic relations. We don't need him there, because, well, the Count is no longer in Braunschweig. So let's have a look at our vassals and see what's going on with these church vassals. I would really like Rimbert here to like us. He's 40 years old, so he's not going to die anytime soon. And he is currently located in Bremen, which is up here where my chaplain is working. So let's do a double time on him and reallocate our Chancellor to help out up there. Now, as I unpause the game, we'll have another look at Braunschweig. Here's the county display screen. And this is an excellent pop-up. The Lords of East Francia have approved the institution of a limited crown authority law that has managed to just take effect. So we'll ignore East Francia for the moment. We can see here that we are running under limited crown authority, which means that we need to provide a slight bit more of our vassal levies to our lord when he requests it. I don't think that it's given us the ability to revoke titles. Let's just check that. We'll go to Count Bruno, conduct some diplomacy, revoke titles, we do actually have the ability to revoke titles. This is great. This is very good for us. Because now we're going to make Count Bruno some sort of landless peasant. Because, you know, brotherly love, I guess. Now, we're going to do that nice and easy. He has to basically give in to us because we're holding him in prison. And there we go. So now Bruno does not own any land, and we own Braunschweig. We have the ability to change Braunschweig to be our capital. You can see here, Lüneburg is our current capital, and we can change it to Braunschweig by that. We are not going to do that as yet. Up here we're going to have a lot of high priority messages here. If we wanted to sort through them quickly, we have 5, but if we click on this little blue icon, we can get a list which tells us basically what happens. So, Trude has arrived at our court. She was she would be our brother's wife, so she's our sister-in-law. And you know what? She's actually got a pretty good stewardship stat. If it comes down to it, we might have to marry her at some point. Okay. This is a little bit of a strange message. Trude has left our court for the Duchy of Saxony, which is our court. So what's happened here is we've taken Braunschweig, but then it said, hey, wait a minute, Braunschweig is no longer an actual court. So everybody's moved across. That's fine, we'll get rid of that message. Luitpold Lodelfinger, who I believe is our nephew. Yes, he has arrived in our court. Bruno Lodelfinger has arrived at our court. He was kind of already there because he's in jail. And we have gained the title of a Count of Braunschweig. Now, up here, Dement's size has increased to 2 out of 4, from 1 out of 4, and down here we have Braunschweig added to our little thing. So we're only going to get 2.8 from them at the moment because they were looted a little bit when we kind of attacked them. And yeah, they don't have... The garrison is still recovering, so there's no levy yet. The garrison must be full. And you can see here it reinforces at a rate of 27 guys per month, up to 225 in total. And then the levy will start to refill. That should have also given us the vassals of the city of the mayor of Bielefeld, Blefield. Yeah, we'll just call that place for now. He's now our vassal. And the bishop of the bishopric of Paderborn is now our vassal. Let's see if they like us or not. So we'll just click here. So currently none of our vassals have a negative opinion of us. That's good. It could be a bit better, but it's still good. So here's Siegfried, the bishop of Paderborn. He's a new vassal of ours. He likes the Pope more than us. He doesn't make too much money per year, particularly compared to our other guys, so that's not a big concern. And you can see he's different from a prince bishop because he has a little orange border. He's of a lower rank. Let's see if we can find the mayor. The mayor of Bardewick is our guy in Lüneburg. So the mayor of Blefield, he likes us. He gives us 3.9 gold per month. Let's have a quick look at our laws. We still can't change... We still need to wait another 3 years to change the city levies down to minimum, which is what we wanted to do to begin with. So, that's good. We just have to wait a few months for our garrison and levy to refresh on the castle of Braunschweig. And we'll have a little bit of progress there. But, while I think about it... Okay, Braunschweig doesn't have any improvements. We're going to build castle walls there. If you remember, we built castle walls in Lüneburg earlier. Though I believe Lüneburg already had some improvements. So we'll just keep that going. And of note, you can see here that they heavily restrict what you can get dependent on building castle walls. And I believe the keep is another one which becomes a prerequisite at stages. Anyway, that's pumped our income up a little bit. We're currently at 2.49. That will only increase as this meter fills. So that's great. Right. Little pop-up event here. My prisoner, Bruno Ludolfinger, is complaining about his dark cell in the dungeon. He is asking for more suitable accommodation. This is an event you'll regularly receive if you have prisoners. We have three options. Let him rot, which is the default. We just keep him in prison. Very well, I shall be merciful, which changes his imprisonment to being under house arrest instead. And that, while that says until the 1st of January 1453, that means until the end of the game. And that will give him the following effects of diplomacy -5. If we click, move that across a little bit, we can see that he is currently experiencing the event trait of being in a dungeon, which gives him -10 to his diplomacy score because, well, I'm gonna be honest, a dungeon is not the best place to receive diplomatic envoys, and it also gives him -1 to his health. He doesn't get any real health benefits from his traits, so he would have the default health range, so that's not too great for him. By putting him in house arrest, we would presumably, he still won't have a diplomacy score because he doesn't have enough bonuses for it to matter, but he would be less likely to just die in prison. The other option is suitable. How about the oubliette? Now that will give him -20 to his diplomacy score, which will still keep him at 0. You can only go to 0. And it will also give him -2 health. This is a little bit of a tricky decision to make here, because at the moment, if we go to look at our inheritance, Bruno is our second in line to inherit. If we got rid of him, well, currently Agnes, our daughter, is first in line to inherit, which is great. Then Bruno, then Brudolf's son, Luitpold, who we should actually be able to look after at this stage. Yes, see, he's in our court in Lundberg, but he's only 1, so we don't get much of an option to do with anything at this stage. And following that, it's probably going to be one of our sisters, either Countess Luitgard of Württemberg or Countess Edda of Oldenburg. Either of those is a bad option, just because of how the entire marriage and agnetic-cognetic thing goes on. We apparently have a negative opinion of our liege because he increased the crown authority. That's not too much of an issue. However, the liege is also arbitrary, and I believe... right. Okay, so what's happened here with our liege is, because he's arbitrary, we get a -10 against him. That's normal. But because we are just, and he is arbitrary, we get an additional -10% against him. He probably has a similar... No, he doesn't actually have a similar thing. That's alright. I've just noticed that we're still running the plot here to kill... You'll see that plot power has actually increased, and we probably have more people willing to get in on it. We don't want that to happen anymore, because, well, he's fine. All good. Anyway, what we were actually talking about was inheritance. If Bruno dies, he's removed from the succession, quite obviously, because he's dead, and Luitpold is raised to position number 2. The problem there is that our next 2 heirs are children, Agnes and Luitpold. If Agnes dies and then I die, or I die and then Agnes dies, Bruno would be who we are playing as. Now, Bruno isn't exactly great. I mean, his stats are nice. He's charitable, he's humble. Humble's great for piety, but he's got a lot of negative prestige, mainly because we kicked the shit out of him in that war. He's also ambitious, he's a scholar, and he's a flamboyant schemer, which is not great. I don't particularly want to play as Bruno, so we're going to shove him in the oubliette, and he may die from that at some point. And we've got a message from our steward telling us that he's gotten us some gold, which is wonderful, and the game started up its time again. So we're just gradually trying to increase the amount of money that we have. Very nice and simple. This is good. This church, well, it's not good right now because we don't actually have control of this church, because the Oh, that's an issue. Because the bishop likes the Pope more than us. It's very simple. Just get the autosave there happening at the start of every year. Prince Bishop Gottfried of Munster has founded the Countess Luitgard for Saxony faction. So, here's the Countess. She doesn't like us because she's a title claimant and ambitious. And here's Prince Bishop Gottfried. So, he only has 39 men. We can't really do anything against him at this stage because he isn't a traitor, he's just, plotting something. If we revoked his title, we'd have to pay a little bit of prestige for it. It would lower his opinion of us, and it would lower everybody else's opinion of us because it's a violation of the feudal contract. So, we're not too worried about this at this stage. I mean, he runs this place. He barely has any men. He's not exactly a great military or diplomatic individual. He's also ugly, which is probably why he's grown this beard, to hide that up a little bit. So we're just going to continue along. And yeah, what would have happened if the Crown Authority hadn't been increased so that we couldn't revoke Count Bruno's title would be we would have had to have killed Count Bruno, which we could have possibly done. And there we go, our old king, King Ludwig the German, is dead. He has died a natural death, and King Karlman of Bavaria has inherited and made the Kingdom of East Francia his primary title. Let's just pause that and see what the go is. Okay, so he doesn't particularly like us, but he doesn't particularly not like us. On the realm of the vassals here, we really don't like him. For reasons. Oh, because he's a coward. He is quite a coward, and that's an issue. He owes money to the Jews, he owns a holy relic, and he expelled the Jews. He's not doing very well, if I may say so myself, but it has caused us to become part of Bavaria. That may change fairly soon because of that event. Okay, Duke Fankolf of Thuringia, this old dude here who is actually still plotting against us, I believe. Yes. He has started a faction to make Prince Ludwig, who I think was the old king's son? Yeah, one of the old king's son. King Karlman was also a son. To make him the guy. We're just going to ignore that for the moment. He does have 25.8% of his liege's men. We could join it. We can have a look at our own options for starting a faction. So these are basically all the things that we can do. I don't believe that we can support ourselves as any sort of leader. But we could try and force a particular succession law or lower the Crown Authority, which we definitely don't want to do right now. Or we could strive for independence, which is actually a bad idea at this stage of the game. So we're just going to keep on doing what we've been doing. The garrison's slowly reinforcing. There's another faction which has started up. This will happen a lot at the start of any king's reign. A lot of factions will pop up purely because of the short reign negative opinion modifier. If the king can hold on to his position and solidify his rule, those will eventually... That's surprising. We've been made the High Almoner, that'll do, of East Francia. This should give us a little bit more cash or prestige or something. There we go. We get an additional 0.012 prestige per month because of this. We may also get a slight salary. So that's great. And we've just had some more faction messages. We can see here Duke Fankolf has joined the elective succession in Bavaria faction. If we join that as well, we might pump it over the 100%. Yep, and we've got a few more things. Factions are popping up everywhere. So, yes, the factional guys here are basically supporting Prince Ludwig the younger son of the late king, to be king of both Bavaria and... Okay, this is a bad decision on King Carloman's part. I kind of understand where he's coming from, but it is not a very smart decision considering how early on in his reign he is. He wants medium crown authority, which increases the amount of our levies that he can draw on. I would like that to happen so that if I eventually become king, I have more options available to me. But it could have the effect of splitting the realm up. Let's see how many votes I contribute to the particular thing. Whoops. Okay, so what I've accidentally done there is join in. But I'm fine on that. He still needs to get everybody else's opinion on that matter, so... Well, we just got to deal with how we misclick sometimes, don't we? So nothing has really changed up here in the top list. We've just had a... Everybody is joining factions. We're going to be getting a lot of messages about that. You can see here the elective succession faction has increased to 1,410 men, which is about 80% of what our king can muster. I'm not particularly keen on joining that particular faction because, well, one, we would be at war. Let's see who we would be at war with. So Prince Karl the Fat owns the Duchy of Swabia, which is this region. Because we have the de jure tag unticked, we can see what he actually owns. If we tick it, that's the legitimate, normal, traditional Duchy of Swabia. So he owns a little bit more than that. So we'd be fighting with these guys. We would also be fighting with Duke Fankolf here, so that would be a nice little buffer against us because we are all of this land up here. And we would also be fighting with the Count of Nuremberg over here, so all of this area we would be fighting against. What we might do is, if somebody else joins and puts the percentage above the amount, above 100%, we may just try and get in on that real quick. Because we're really not worried about our own factions. They are nothing to really care about. We've almost fully reinforced the garrison of Braunschweig. A little bit more time should do it, and then we'll get some more going on there. That'll be really handy. I'm debating forming the Kingdom of or the Duchy of Brunswick. The only issue there is that it costs us a lot of money. Oh, excellent. Our liege, King Carloman, has decided to rescind the decree calling for the expulsion of all Jewish people. They are now once more permitted to live and work within the borders of the realm. That's kind of good. I mean, you know, on a freedom sort of stance, it's really good. But it's also good because we can get Jewish councillors who have positive benefits for us. A little risky because the king may just decide to... Okay, we've had somebody else join this faction. Okay, so they're still at about 81% because a Prince Bishop doesn't really have a lot in the way of adding men. And you've got to remember, we're still involved in this war down in Barcelona that we're losing horribly. So, when we get a few more men out of Braunschweig, that will give us... Right, that will give us a total personal levy of 601. You can see here we only have 368 available, and that's because it hasn't reinforced properly. And we still have... Well, I'm going to stop talking about the military for a moment, because we've fulfilled our ambition to have a son. Who we are confusingly going to call Ludolf. Ludolf Vodolfinger. We're going to keep that name. Now, he has no traits at the moment. He's newborn, that's fine. Our wife survived, so, you know, that's going alright. Let me just check. Yeah, he doesn't have the same name as our nephew, so that's good. We have a son, which means that we have a new heir. So the line of succession has changed somewhat. Ludolf will inherit first, then Agnes, then Bruno. The Gavelkind doesn't matter here because we only have one son, so if we had two sons, only one of them would get Lundberg and the other one would get Braunschweig. That's kind of an issue sometimes, or most of the time, particularly if you are near your demesne limit. Okay, and somehow, probably because this kind of happened before I locked him up, we're getting this because he's a close relative who is in our court, but a daughter was born to Bruno Lottelfinger and Trude, who I think was his wife? Yep. Named Benedicta, so we'll just click on her. She has nothing, but that's fine. You know, a close relative is always a good thing. We've also, because we fulfilled our ambition to have a son, we now have an ambition slot open again. Just check what our wife wants. Our wife would like to become Spy Master. Nope. So let's have a look at our ambitions. We can put forward an ambition to be a member of the council of our king. We can try and amass wealth. We could try to gain piety. We could try to improve our own intrigue. Or we could try and become king of East Francia. What are we going to do? Because we're still quite young, is we're going to try to improve our intrigue. So what this should do is, as we progress through the timeline, we'll get some random events dedicated to improving our intrigue. When we get 8 points of intrigue, we will have fulfilled that ambition, and that will give us 100 prestige. But the main focus right now, because, well, we are a tough soldier, and while we are ambitious, we are kind, we are just, we're everything that you want a ruler to be, except for trusting. Okay, this is just a nice little event here which improves our opinion of this guy, who is just one of our courtiers. And yeah, we basically settle a dispute between them or something like that. Or he settled a dispute between me and somebody else. We've got another faction member joining something down here. Wow. Okay, all of these percentages have shot up very quickly. There is a very good reason for that, and it is probably because we lost a battle down in the Umayyad Holy War for Barcelona that wiped out our entire national army. So suddenly, we've got, these factions have 365% of things. We're going to join some of these factions because, well, yeah, look at that. We've contributed our men and immediately raised it to 654%. We could have another look to see if there's anything that we can do. I don't want the King of West Francia to be our king. I don't care about Prince Karl. I don't want the King of Lotharingia, Italy and Burgundy to be our king. Yes, there is nothing here that I am particularly keen on doing myself. Independence is still not a good idea. So we've joined that faction, and what will probably happen is... there we go. Alright, so instead of letting us declare a civil war and rebel against the king, Karlman has just agreed to our demand to change the succession law to elective monarchy. And of course, our valuable support in this conflict will not be forgotten. So Prince Karl here, who is the leader of the faction, gets an opinion bonus in relative to us. So we get a lot of factions disband because, well, however that works. I'm not keen on joining either of these factions. I don't care for Prince Ludwig. I don't think I care for Prince Ludwig anyway. No, I really don't care for Prince Ludwig. I can't even assassinate him. And really, that's how I determine how much I care about people, whether I can assassinate them or not, apparently. So, this should change shortly. Ah, no, because that was Bavaria. Okay, this is a very strange situation where we're getting stuff about Bavaria happening, but we can't see the laws of Bavaria. And that's because Bavaria is currently mixed into our stuff. If we look at the Duchy of Bavaria, we can then look at the Kingdom of Bavaria, and we really can't tell much from this. We know that the line of succession is agnatic elective, and rather bizarrely, we are the nominated heir of Bavaria. I'm pretty sure there's something about a beer hall that we can do related to that. But we'll just continue along, because we only have one person supporting us there, and we've just had a rebellion happen. Fangolf of the East Francian Revolt has declared the East Francian Revolt War for Prince Ludwig's claim on East Francia on King Carmen of East Francia. So you get the idea that there may be something to do with East Francia going on here. And we can see the particular areas that have risen up in this. So, this county down here, Schwyz, they've risen up. They've contributed 267 men. And Duke Fangolf's stuff here has risen up, and he's contributed all of his men, so 16, 33, 377. Unfortunately, yeah, see, because he is now technically a separate country, we could declare war on him. But we would be hostile to anybody else who's in this revolt, so this guy down here, and all of the forces of our liege. And if his revolt ends, our war will immediately end. This is a real decision. I mean, we get an easy out in that if the king, King Carmen, defeats Duke Fangolf, then, well, our war ends and there's no penalties from that. It becomes neutral. The casus belli is no longer valid. We could offer to join his war, which, you know, he would like. Unfortunately, if we win that, we don't suffer any penalties apart from being a traitor, and we could then be locked up without any sort of penalties for our king. But if we do win that, then the Crown Law goes back to autonomous vassals, which is terrible for us. It's terrible for everybody. And right now we could actually get the Duke to end his revolt, end his plot to, you know, take Saxony from us. This is quite a tough decision for me at this point. If we have a look, everybody is still... The war's only just begun, so 0% war score for everybody. No big deal there. And if we go to our military tab, we can see that we can raise 1,000 men. Slightly over 1,000 men, 1,100. We would have to gather them up. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to do this, I think. Alright, we're going to start this war and see how it goes for a little bit, and then we might call it an episode. So, we're going to declare war. Here's a very important thing. There are a lot of conditions involved in declaring war on somebody. The main one that we have to remember is that we cannot have raised levies. So if we came up here, raised up all our troops, combined them all and have them ready to jump in over here on Weimar and, you know, basically gank it, then we wouldn't be able to declare war in the first place because we have raised levies, and so it wouldn't let us do that. So, let's get down to business. Conduct diplomacy, declare war. We select our Casus Belli, which is our de jure claim on Weimar, which we have because we have a Duke of Saxony. And we hit go. Now, these forces may or may not be hostile to us. It's a little bit difficult to tell. We've had a thing up here appear, which means that we can attempt to bring Count Sieghard of Württemberg, which is here, in, because he's an ally to us. He is fairly likely to join in. You can see here he likes me more than he likes Duke Fangolf, so he's got 5 positives. There's 2 negatives just for the base reluctance. So we're going to send a message to him, raise up our armies, all of them, join them all up. We're going to just quickly have a look at our army. We select the individual unit. You can see we're leading the army. This could be a bad thing. I mean, we're obviously the most skilled, apart from our Marshal, I think. Yeah, our Marshal and I are the most skilled military commanders. Our Marshal is currently involved in increasing the levy size in Lundberg, so we want to kind of keep him there because he's giving us some armies. If we lead an army, we can die in a battle, or we can get captured. If we get captured, that's the war over. Because, well, he can demand our stuff. Okay, we've just had a little event. A destitute noble from a former enemy court asks for permanent hospitality. If we welcome him to our court, we lose 7.09 gold, and we gain a soldier named Theodoric. And if we tell him he can only stay for a night, we gain 15 piety. We're going to spend the gold and gain him, and we're just going to see... See, he's not that good a soldier, but his name is Theodoric, so we're kind of going to hang on to him. Why not? Okay, this is a message telling us that Count Sieghard, who is our brother-in-law, will honor his obligations and join in. And he's raised 365 dudes, and hopefully they'll come along and help us win this war. We're getting a few messages, just that the elective succession in Bavaria is changing around a bit. We're getting some messages about factions turning up, because, well, losing that army down in the Barcelonan War was a massive hit to basically everything. We're just going to combine these units, wait for these guys to get here on the 4th. There they go. Combine them up. Now, we've got 3 flanks here, but they're kind of a little bit skew-whiffed. So we're going to click the auto balance button, and that will do absolutely nothing. So we'll just try and sort out some guys to make well, we're going to make the center column a little bit stronger. And we're going to assign some guys to lead the other flanks. And then we're going to send our men into Weimar. Now, our war goal... Okay, this is a little strange, but I'll explain that in a moment. Our war goal is to take Weimar. If we take that, we'll slowly increase our war score and eventually, you know, win the war. Getting some more messages about factions. Here we have 2 wars that we're involved in against the same person. It's a little bit strange, but, you know, it's no big deal. And you can see here our ally has just engaged our enemy in this war. We might attempt to go and assist him. So yeah, hopefully we'll get there in time. So you see we move into Thuringian on the 5th. There's a little message informing us that our vassal opinions are slowly degrading because we've had their vassal levies raised. Okay, there's a message from our chaplain informing us that the Prince Bishop here likes us a little bit more. We will see that reflect. So 58%. Let's just quickly check how much he likes us in comparison to the Pope. Okay, he likes us more than the Pope, so we'll probably see this change shortly. Just continue on. Yeah, see, our allies are getting absolutely smashed there, and that's not a very good thing. But we're going to turn up there in the next 5 days to a weakened army. the enemy's army will be weakened. And here we go. Just select it. We can see some of them are already fleeing. And we're just getting a little bit of damage going on there. Oh, it's exciting and tense stuff this is. And come on, there we go. So we really smashed that army. They only have 102 guys left. And we have captured Count Berenger of Nassau. Now, this is kind of important. He's not the Duke. He doesn't give us anything to the war score or anything like that. But we could release him, we could execute him, or we could ransom him. Because he's a count, he will pay us 70 gold to set him free. 70 gold is a huge amount of money to us right now, so we're going to just ransom him. And just before we forget, send our army back up to Weimar. Normally, if we click, we're right-clicking to send our army to places, it will send them via the shortest route. If we hold down Shift and right-click, you can see that we can send our army in any pattern that we wish. Quickest route is the best here, though. We'll just unpause that, and in a moment we're going to get paid a little bit of money from our ransom. There we go. So now our money has jumped up massively, while this, quite frankly, this battle is not in any sort of contention. We win that immediately, and we just head up there. So we got some money to splash around. We are very close to being able to afford the next level of castle town. But on that note, we can also afford a normal castle town in Braunschweig, which we're going to do. And we're just going to shove our guys up here in Weimar. And there we go. That will end fairly shortly, that siege. And what's happened here? Okay. The Count of this place, or Chief Bretislav of Dolomici, has seen a bit of a weakness in the Count of Thuringia, or the Duke of Thuringia's little war, so he would also like to conquer Weimar. So he's hostile to us because he's involved in the same sort of conflict. It's a big freeway mashup, which, you know, reminds me of last Tuesday night. But yeah, so he's hostile towards, where are we? There we are. Due to conflicting wars for the throne of the County of Weimar. That's fine. If he attacks us, he will probably lose. Let's just see how good of a military leader he is. He's not bad. We're better. So we just need to wait for that to depreciate. Well, not depreciate, but decline. You can see it's already begun. He doesn't have enough guys to do anything about it. If we wanted to, we could send away all of our vassal levies and start removing that penalty. It doesn't accrue too fast, and we've also got Mayor Gottfried, or not Mayor Gottfried, but the Count of Württemberg's army, which is led by Mayor Gottfried, coming down to deal with these guys. And I don't believe that if I send away the levies that I'll have enough to repel an attack from Chief Bretislav here. We've just got the option to assault the holding. We're not going to do that for previously discussed reasons. So what I think Chief Bretislav will do here is try and occupy Nassau and Thuringen. We can kick him out of there eventually. Okay, so this isn't all that important. This is the negative opinion effect, or event, from the Chancellor. He has tried to make Baron Fulbert of Stade realize what a benevolent and peaceful ruler I really am, but sinister forces at his court have been discrediting his every move. So we get the opposite effect, which is Baron Fulbert, this guy, who already doesn't like us, gets a -30 opinion penalty against us. We don't care about that, because Baron Fulbert isn't our immediate vassal. He's the vassal of Bishop Rimbert. He's also an idiot. So, with this siege underway, and considering that this war may go on for a little bit longer, we're not quite sure about that, and that the autosave has just happened, what we are going to do... that's kind of interesting. I don't know why that siege has begun. Yes, it shouldn't have, and that's why it's just stopped. Yep, I think we'll call that an episode. Yeah, so come back next time for the thrilling conclusion of this waiting game of a siege. I've been Sub. You've been yourselves. Later.